Yeah, good evening, everyone. Just going to take some time to go over our school plan that we did this year. We were focusing on this year too of looking at developing literacy skills within Osoyoos Elementary. So I'm going to fly through this because we went through this all at the beginning of the year, but just our scanning, we had various indicators that were showing that we were seeing decreasing achievement in literacy, in reading and writing throughout our whole school. And there was a number of factors that came in there. One of the factors that we talked about, and we'll talk about again, is that the demographics within the studies, especially since I was there and came back, have really changed. The number of ELL students we have are significantly higher than when I was there before, which adds a complicating factor. We now have the most ELL students in the district, and it's something that we have to adapt to. As this was year 2 teacher feedback from last year, there was a number of things that were done. We had blitzes, lots of stuff. It showed that progress had been made, but there was more work to do. One of the notes I have here is that our overall achievement in the FSA scores had gone up, but we hadn't had that ability to compare cohorts yet from a grade 4 to grade 7 cohort. So our focus this year was to intentionally focus on fostering a literacy-rich environment through which students build their skills and confidence in oral language, reading, and writing, which we did. All these things talked about things that we might be contributing to within this situation, and a lot of it came back to consistency within the school. There's all sorts of different aspects to literacy programs, but consistent practices weren't necessarily happening, so we wanted to focus on creating some of those this year. Which led us to finalizing those areas of learning. So there's 3 areas that were identified. The first one was specifically with our early learning group from Strong Start. There was up to a grade 4 teacher in there, focusing on oral language. That ties back to our ELL kids that come in and don't necessarily have any English when they start. A second group, which was a group that contained our behavior support teacher, a couple classroom teachers, most of our EAs. They were focusing on social emotional literacies and creating resources, and also you'll see that in a bit. So we're literature can support social emotional learning. And then our intermediate team was focused specifically on that consistency, looking at creating specific programs and practices through the use of a program too. That was from grade 4 through to grade 7. Everybody doing the same thing, same practice, things like that. So our first group was our, like I said, early learning group. And oral language is the basis for reading and writing. Like that's where we start. And our teachers in the primary grades have been doing it for a while. Most of them are very experienced teachers. They were noticing declines year over year of where kids were coming in and their ability. So there was a bunch of different strategies that were tried throughout the year. They went and did these things consistently, came back and shared that with the group, what were the positives, what were the negatives, which ones were effective. And not all teachers did these. Like, there's 13 different practices that were tried. And some of them are ones that, for some reason, we've gone away from, like show and tell, which has decreased over the years in the primary grades. Kids love it. And it's get up there and show and tell, but instead of that basis for getting up and sharing what you're doing. So all these different practices were done consistently, and strategies were tried and shared, like I said, with the rest of the teachers for their impact and reception. So that's what that group did, and we'll come back to the checking afterwards. We had another group, again, this was kind of our student support services team with our EAs, and through the work they did with the students, what they were seeing within the school, what were the issues that needed to be tackled, and these were the ones that they came up with, but what they were seeing within the school. Becky Campbell, who does our behavior support, deals with this stuff all the time. Body image and identity, emotions, being, family matters, and equality. So these bins were all created. So this is the body image and identity, and it was spurred on by some situations we had in the school this year that we needed to work with specific students. And these bins were all created. They're in our staff room, easy to access, and our EAs have started to use them. They took a while to build. So our checking on this isn't quite where it should be. But they have, like I said, they're easy to access in our staff room. We've got a student who's having some of these things. Here's this kit that our EAs or teachers, but usually EAs, can work with the student on. It's just ready to go. There's activities, things that address these 5 areas. And Amanda was in this group.
So the taking action for the intermediate writing group was that we were trying to create some consistent writing practices. And so we actually broke out into two smaller subgroups within the group. One group had already been focusing on using the writing revolution through Judith Hoffman, and Natalie Wexler. And they had been using it for almost a year and started the work last year with that. So they wanted to focus more, they were the grade 6-7 group mostly, on paragraph writing, whereas the grade 4-5 group was really focused on sentence structure. So we used that resource quite a bit, using the lessons within it, which also created some consistency with the vocabulary. And now from year to year, students in grade 4 will move on to grade 5, still having that same vocabulary to fall back on and have that consistency. In each intermediate classroom, teacher used a monthly paragraph write, so we all used the same template. However, the different grade groups would use different prompts for the writing paragraph. And so that was really helpful to kind of see the improvements from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And then we also started to accumulate a SharePoint document that all teachers in our school can access, where some of the different templates that have been made can be edited and altered based on whatever you're teaching. So that was super helpful, and we'll be moving forward into next year.
And a side note on this is 5 of our intermediate teachers are, within the last 3 years, have just become teachers, and we're new, so having consistent practices that we was working on made it a really nice transition for them. So for checking, we had a lot of anecdotal kind of information from the oral language group. They noticed an increase. We haven't got to the point where we can check, is that leading to oral language is obviously part of the ELA curriculum, but also reading and writing, is that going to improve? That's going to come down the road. But just these are different, and there was lots more, but I pulled some, but show and tell, I'll go back to that. It was the best day ever. So things like that, the kids, like I said, they grew in confidence. So teacher feedback was, they saw student vocabulary improve. ELL students, again, greatly benefited. One of the things they did was purchase I Spy boards, like old I Spy games, and just naming what these objects are in kindergarten and grade 1, because they may not know what those objects are called. And then structured oral language activities meant students knew what was expected, and they saw huge growth in comfort and confidence of students speaking to each other and speaking to adults. So pretty good results, a lot of anecdotal results, and we believe it's going to pay off as we go forward in reading, right? But we'll see. Again, social emotional, this was kind of, the bins were just completed in April. We had 1 or 2 EAs start to use them. They've seen positive results so far, but it's very limited, so we're going to see how those go. And that's going to be continuing to next year.
With the intermediate writing group, we were checking our focus was consistent writing strategies to spark joy and confidence in writing. That was kind of our focus right from the beginning of the year. And so we did a pre and post survey to check to see if we had made a difference in that. And that pre and post survey was a student self-assessment on how they felt about their writing. So across the board, there was an increase in student reports of feeling more confident in their writing skills and positive feelings when presented with a writing assignment. Students were better able to identify their strengths and stretches using literacy vocabulary from the program, and again, from year to year, that will help them to have that understanding. Comparing students' paragraph writing assignments from the beginning of the year to the end of the year revealed significant growth in quality, organization, stamina, and output. There is a huge correlation between how a student is feeling about their writing skills and the quality of work that they're providing. And so as they've increased their confidence and their joy of writing, their quality is improving as well. So although that wasn't the focus of our group to improve the quality, it was just a natural consequence of feeling better about it.
And one of the things that we talked about just at the beginning was we didn't have an FSA group to prepare from grade 4 to grade 7 in the county. When Dave first kind of led the start of this literacy pro-growth, or sorry, school plan, a couple years ago, there was 2 cohorts that were in the 40s for emerging in grade 4 for their FSA data. So grassroots revenue sources, so I try to cut as close, but they're not. So in 2021, 2022, this is our current grade 7 group, we had 41% of students emerging in their MSA results. This year we're down to 20%, 21%. So we roughly cut the students who were in the emerging category in half, which is a pretty good indicator for us. So yeah, so it seems like, thanks Dave.
You did it.
Because you meant it. So, but yeah, we are seeing positive results. So yeah, and that's it.